everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Wiebe from Sportsnet. Together we are Kenny and Renny. This is the Kenny and Renny post-game show. And I'm thinking there may be some of you, maybe a couple of you, maybe lots of you who were just over watching me on the Illegal Curve show with Dave Manouk. I had time to just get in here, say hi to Kenny, convince him that no, we're not starting a Dave Manouk, Sean Reynolds show. Kenny and Renny will live on, everybody. And then I had to run up and get my water. I'm straight over. But you know what? I'm loving some of the comments here. This would have been hilarious. If this ever happens again, I'm telling you, this is what I'm going to do. Kenny's water bottle says, Sean changes wardrobes between shows. How much would that have blown everyone's mind if I just would have walked in with like a pink blazer or something like that, wearing a Quebec Nordiques hat or something? That's a great idea. I'm going to pull that off next time. I'm going to have it sitting right outside the camera shot waiting to go. Kenny's water bottle always has good ideas, except when he agrees with Kenny over me, which he does way too often. That's the last time you're going to hear from you in the show, Kenny, because I know where it goes from here, Kenny's water bottle. Hey, everyone. Appreciate you joining us here. Let's get into it. Game tonight. Game 73, I believe that is. Good game. I enjoyed that one. Another good game to me. The one thing I keep saying this down the stretch here, but that last game against the Colorado Avalanche, I thought that was the best Jets game that I'd seen all year, the most enjoyable hockey that I'd seen the Jets play all year against a really good team. Coming here tonight, it was an interesting game. But if we get down to it, and some of these thoughts are going to have been shared on the Illegal Curve show, but I take a look at this, and if you're the Winnipeg Jets, I'm trying to figure out what is at stake for you at this stage of the season. What they will tell you first and foremost, and this is probably exactly what they're thinking about, is the 2 points. That's what's at stake. That's what matters most, getting those 2 points, keeping the dream alive. You know how I feel. You know how Kenny feels about this. The numbers tell us it's over already, right? And this is one of the reasons why Winnipeg Jets win here tonight. But you know what? So too did the Vancouver Canucks the other night. So the Jets are just trying to keep pace with them. So too did the Vegas Golden Knights. Sorry, did I say the Vancouver? I think I said the Vancouver Canucks. The Vegas Golden Knights won the other night. Dallas wins on this night. So the Jets, what ground did they gain on the Dallas Stars side? They didn't gain any ground on the Dallas Stars. And now the Dallas Stars remain with one game in hand, 7 points up on the Winnipeg Jets, 7 points up. And I think it's 8 points up. That's where you'll find the Nashville Predators, who, they lost tonight, but they get that loser point, that overtime point. So Jets don't have enough time to, keep winning games and only gain one goal on them. So, I mean, it's over. We know that it's over. The Jets aren't going to say it's over. It's not in their DNA to do that. They're going to keep fighting towards the end. So they may say that the 2 points is all that matters. I don't agree with that assessment. I think you kind of have to take a look at this Jets team and start trying to figure out how going forward this team is going to make a winner. And maybe there's nothing to be learned at the end of the season here. Maybe all the lessons that need to be learned are going to happen in the off season. And that's where this team is going to learn to turn things around. But I look at this game, and what I see from this game is the same thing that I saw from this team when they had that stretch of games not that long ago, where they played 6 straight games against teams outside of the playoff line. Below them in the standings, all of them out of the playoff line, other than Vegas. Vegas was ahead of them in the standings at that time. But the Jets took 10 of 12 points over that stretch. And I took a look at that stretch, and I thought that they were the worst team in 4 of 6 of those games. I take a look at this tonight. I don't know. Kenny may have a different opinion. I haven't gone and dove into the analytics, but what I saw tonight was that the Ottawa Senators were the better of the 2 teams on this evening. I thought that game hinged. 4-3 victory when one of your goals from the Winnipeg Jets is not just a weird redirect from the slot. It's not chaos anywhere. It's just one of the luckiest bounces you could ever expect someone to get. That bounce is the difference in that game tonight. The Ottawa Senators put more on the net. I think they had more high danger chances, more high quality chances. Connor Hellebuyck to me is the best player on the ice. So I don't know. I mean, if you're happy that the Jets got points and that's all that matters to you, that's fine. But I go back to that stat I've been talking about. This is now 24 games the Jets have played, or I think it's 25 now, maybe. In the last 25 games, the Jets have beat teams above them above the playoff line just twice. What they've been doing is their points have been coming in games against teams like this, bottom feeding teams, inferior teams. And the strange part about that is those games always seem to be competitive. Like the Jets are going down to the wire with teams that are not heavy duty teams. They can't seem to put distance between them during games when they're playing teams that are, what's Ottawa? They're third last, fourth last in the league. I mean, the Jets are in dogfights with these teams. That's what we see from them. That's what we saw again here tonight. Let's see what Kenny has to say about this. Let's see what he saw. Let's bring in the guy. I miss him. Time to bring him in. Here comes Kenny. Kenny, my main man. Oh, he didn't jump into the show. Kenny, my main man. How are you doing tonight?
Tremendous, Sean. Love the buzz you got going here. Good energy, good intensity. Unlike the Jets, you're ready to go. Not only for one show, for double duty. Love to see it. Doing tremendous.
I can't explain it, Ken. I did have a coffee earlier today, but someone in the chat room suggested that I was hyper caffeinated and that you were had a chance here tonight. I don't know. I didn't know I was this energy, but maybe it's just because I'm so happy to see you, my friend. How you been?
I appreciate the warning. Fun weekend, yeah, no doubt about that. Lots of baseball action, lots of Masters action. We've got hey, before we get rolling, while I go to the buffet, can you send that link out?
I'm doing it right now.
Okay, good.
I was going to be really subtle about it. No one would have ever known the difference. And then you bring it out in front of everybody. Airing the dirty laundry again, Jenny.
It's nothing dirty about it. There's nothing dirty about it. Interesting tilt. I think you touched on a lot of things. Obviously, to say it was the Jets' best would be unlikely and untrue. They were unable to start the way that they finished against the Colorado Avalanche, Sean. They were sleepwalking through most of the first period. Poor puck management, way too cute in terms of the plays made. Once again, that's an issue that continues to bother the Winnipeg Jets here. I know some folks in our chat room will be happy because it sounds like Dave Lowry was pretty upset during the first period and aired some things out. I know a lot of people have been saying, why is there no more yelling? I mean, I think the game has changed a lot, and even Lowry himself said players today don't really respond to a verbal tirade the way that they maybe once did. But it sounds like he felt that one was necessary today, even though the players didn't really want to get into it. Paul Stastny said he loved it. No surprise, Paul Stastny's old school and an old soul. So I love the fact that he loved it and that he shared it. That's another thing. I mean, Nikolai Ehlers didn't really want to get into it, and Dave Lowry, as no surprise to anyone, gave credit to his players for responding. He took no credit for trying to get people, getting them into the game. The Jets were not good enough, but Sean, they responded, right? So I didn't see any urgency. And again, I want to know what we'll get into it as we go. I mean, you've been asking Dave Lowry to deliver a little truth serum at the podium, and I feel as though he was a lot more forthcoming maybe in terms of what he didn't like in the game, which I assume would be something that caught your attention here. Obviously, we know Nikolai Ehlers was absolutely tremendous in the game. 3 points again, but not just the points. He's just buzzing around so much, Sean. I mean, so much generation and just his skating ability right now. Honestly, I mean, again, as you said, I mean, the Jets are going to need an absolute miracle, and even then that might not be enough. But the fact that Nikolai Ehlers missed a quarter of the season, if you're on the Jets coaching staff, you're wondering what might have been had Nikolai Ehlers been available for the whole year, because the Jets are a completely different team when Ehlers is in the lineup. I mean, no one can argue that. Just look at the way that he's played during this point streak. He's been absolutely on fire. He is a complete play driver. The Jets are a completely different team when he's going. And obviously, too, I mean, we spent a lot of time last show talking about Mark Scheifele. Sean, that didn't look good to me. It looked like that, again, we're not doctors. We are only asked to play them on the internet and on Twitter. That looked like a separated shoulder to me. Dave Lowry's initial response was that Mark Scheifele would not be available for tomorrow's game against the Montreal Canadiens, and that he would be reevaluated back home. I'm not sure we're going to see Mark Scheifele again this year. Again, maybe it's not as serious as it looked, but to me, it looked pretty serious to me, Sean. We'll see what happens there. But if I'm a Jets fan, I'm not holding my breath to see Mark Scheifele again. And I don't think we're going to see Blake Wheeler tomorrow either. Dave Lowry obviously said it was part of his treatment that he was on the road and that he was doubtful for tomorrow. We know that Blake Wheeler's played through a lot of pain in his career, but I don't see him being back in the lineup. So that means either the Jets will call somebody up, or I guess conceivably they could go 11-7, but I don't think that they would do that either. I think it's more likely that a forward is back up, unless somehow Jansen Harkins is ready to return to the lineup. So anyways, we'll dive into the injury stuff in a little bit, but those are my initial thoughts. Connor Hellebuyck, fantastic. Josh Morrissey, another just tremendous game on the back end, and we'll get into the defense discussion like we did again the other day, but those are my initial thoughts at the buffet, and we'll go from there.
Well, let's go from there. I wanted to give some love to our sponsors in Cambrian. I know I've been hogging the spotlight on that a little bit, so feel free to give us your take on Cambrian.
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. Folks know that we both have our mortgages through Cambrian Credit Union, and your daughters got their first accounts through them. Today we're going to shine a little bit of a spotlight on the Learning for Life Award. Cambrian Credit Union, proud to sponsor Winnipeg and Selkirk students along their learning journey. Each year, Cambrian Credit Union awards scholarships to select athletes through the Learning for Life Award to support continued education in the community. The award is open to any student from within Manitoba who will be pursuing post-secondary education in the fall of 2022. To date, Cambrian has offered more than $150,000 to students pursuing post-secondary education, and this year there are 5 awards available at $2,500 each. If you are interested and fit the criteria, applications open from April 4th to May 31st of 2022, and for more information or to apply, visit cambrian.mb.ca. Another great initiative from our partners at Cambrian Credit Union.
Yeah, good stuff. Hey, I wanted to go back with. It's funny that you brought up the we're not doctors, but we play ones on the internet. Just doing the Illegal Curve show, had a bit of a funny spot where Dave said, we're not doctors, so we're not going to speculate. And I said, well, I'm not a doctor, but I am going to speculate. It's funny.
Part of the deal.
Yeah, so you think you saw a shoulder separation, right? That's what you.
Yeah, I mean could it be a clavicle, or it's possible, but I did a little sniffing around. To me, it looked like a separated shoulder, but again, the reaction wasn't great either way. I know that some people thought the way that he absorbed the hit from Parker Kelly, that it might not have been his shoulder, but to me, just the way that he hunched over, and honestly, Sean, the way that when he got to the tunnel and basically almost keeled over, and Jay McMaster almost had to hold him up, led me to believe that was just it was one of those things where the initial shock, you don't have the pain necessarily right away, but by the time he got to the tunnel, to me, it looked like it was just one of those things where the pain just started to hit, and that to me, I think it's separated shoulder, but again, I wouldn't take that to the bank here. Either way, incredibly tough for the Jets and for Scheifele. I mean, for all of the discussion we've had, I mean, Mark has been absolutely on fire of late, and got himself up to 70 points there. I mean, he's had a productive season on the offensive side of things, and if that is it for his season, that'll be a disappointing way to end, because Mark basically had his most engaged game of the season on Friday against the Colorado Avalanche, and he was looking to finish the season on a high note.
If we go to this, and I did a little bit of explaining this. So a separated shoulder means that where your clavicle or your collarbone meets your shoulder blade, right up at the top, that creates the top of your shoulder joint. And those two bones are held together by tendons. A separated shoulder is when those two bones get pulled apart and those tendons get strained. And the problem with that is tendons take a while to heal. It's like taking, a really tight, not very stretchy elastic band and stretching it too far. That's kind of what happens in that situation. I thought, Ken, that it was a shoulder dislocation, which means the ball of the arm falls right out of the socket. And so what the reason I say that is when he got hit, you could tell there was kind of no instantaneous reaction, because it's kind of like that thing where, like, when you get punched in the face, you get punched in the face and you're like, what just happened, right? It's not like, ow, that hurt. It's like, what just happened? And then it's like, okay, ow, that hurt. That's what it's like to get punched in the face, right?
One quick one. Folks should know that you've been punched in the face a lot more than I have. But that's more because you're a willing combatant. Okay? So.
or maybe it's my attitude. Maybe you've got a better attitude than I do. It could be that. Anyway.
Sorry, I apologize, but in some ways you walked into that one. So you definitely led with your chin on that one.
That was a bit of a punch in the
cheap
face.
Shot. Yeah, exactly. Cheap shot.
There we go, everybody. Now,
as anyone who played against me knows that if you're in a scrum with me, you could get punched. But I'm more unlikely to drop the gloves in a toe-to-toe battle with you.
So the fact of the matter, when the body gets hurt, the initial instinct isn't that hurt. The instinct is what just happened, and then the realization comes in like a second later or so. Mark Scheifele takes that hit and kind of turns, and in the slow motion of him doing it, you can see all of a sudden there's a realization, ow, something's wrong. Yeah. And then you can see the first thing he kind of does is grabs at his arm with his other hand and gives it a roll. To me, that's him trying to put the shoulder back into the joint. And now the thing about that is there are certain people who have, I know lots of people who have shoulder problems. And once you dislocate your shoulder, it can happen more and more often. Sometimes it can get to a point where I've got buddies who their shoulder will like pop out. And they'll be like, oh, the shoulder popped out, and they pop it back in. It doesn't really hurt that much anymore. But if it hasn't happened before, it's excruciating. And the only way that it happens is you do damage to all the tendons and ligaments that hold your shoulder into place. So my take is that it looked to me like his shoulder popped out. He popped it back in, but just because it goes back in doesn't mean it doesn't still hurt. It's agonizing. And you can see that as he goes towards the bench. He's skating away towards the bench. He's holding his shoulder down. And to your point, the tunnel is the tell-all for me. He gets into the tunnel, and this is the feeling. When your shoulder pops out, there's this feeling of like it's like it's pulling on a nerve that is hurting you. That's the best way that I can describe it. And so to alleviate that pain, you do this. You drop your shoulder down, because it's almost like you're taking your shoulder to follow your arm, so that it's like your shoulder's chasing your arm. And that's what I saw from him. When he goes down the tunnel, he's not bent over like this. He is right over like this, and he's cradling that shoulder. I would be blown away, Ken, if it wasn't one or the other, a separated shoulder or a dislocated shoulder. In both cases, especially if he's never dislocated that shoulder before, it means tendon damage. It means time to recuperate. I don't expect Mark Scheifele to be back this season. Now, he could come back because it's a painful injury that you can play through, but there's that can be problematic. One, you're not at your best, and two, you could potentially do more damage to the shoulder. The Jets wouldn't want that for Mark Scheifele. There's a good chance that we've seen the last of Mark Scheifele this year, and it's interesting that it happens during what I thought was his best game of the year. Last game against the Colorado Avalanche, I thought he was having another good game here tonight. It's kind of unfortunate to finally get that taste of Mark Scheifele everyone has been craving and waiting for at his best, and then all of a sudden it looks like things may very well have come to an end here.
Yeah, and a quick one too, Sean. I mean, what we also should mention, I think the shift before he got hit by Parker Kelly, he made an exceptional play along the boards. Brendan Dillon takes a hit to make the play around the boards. Scheifele wins a board battle and chips the puck out to Nikolai Ehlers as he takes contact. and Ehlers flies down the wing and finds Stastny for his 19th goal of the year. So, I mean, for all of the time we spent saying, Mark Scheifele needs to be physically engaged and not shy away from contact, he takes 2 hits to make the play. And on the second one, he gets knocked out of the game and possibly in the season. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, we shouldn't, again, we don't want to speculate, but it didn't look good. And as you mentioned, really unfortunate timing for Mark Scheifele at a time when, as you mentioned, I mean, he was starting to really get himself rolling. And the thing for the Jets, I mean, we've seen flashes with Scheifele and Ehlers flying together. We haven't seen extended periods. We've usually seen hot and cold with those 2 guys, and they are really starting to get themselves rolling at the same time here. So, it's scary thing for him to deal with, and obviously the most important thing for Mark is to get healthy here.
Yeah, and Julie Sue is absolutely right here about a dislocated shoulder. I dislocated mine in. I hope people aren't squeamish. If you're squeamish, maybe plug your ears for a second. I dislocated my shoulder to the point that it got out, and the ball of the shoulder joint got hooked above my collarbone. The doctor came in. I had to wait 8 hours in emergency for it. And the doctor came in and said, "You've done something uniquely horrible to yourself," is what he said to me. But I think I've got a pretty decent pain tolerance, Ken. When I was younger, I broke my wrist and then made it through the 6 weeks of having that broken wrist by taping my hand to my stick, and didn't really miss a game, played through it. So I can play through pain. But Julie Sue is absolutely right. When I dislocated my shoulder, I might as well have been a crying infant. I was incapacitated. I was so hurt from that. And boy, the pain, it takes a long time to go away. If that's what happened to Mark Scheifele, boy, oh boy, I don't think he should come back. I mean, listen, if he wants to play through it, and that kind of adds to the legend of some players. And I have all the respect in the world for players who can play through pain that in a manner that doesn't, hamper the team around them. If you can do that, go for that. If that's what Mark Scheifele decides he's going to do, if we're right about what's happened here, that's good on him for doing that. But it's a tough road. It's a tough slog. So, Ken, I just wanted to get you to, because I went right on a legal curve after the show. Quickly before we bring in DI here, just so everyone knows, Derek Ingram is going to join us. Corey Connor's coach, he finished 6th down at the Masters. His coach is down there right now, is going to join us for the show. We're going to get to that in just a bit, but I just wanted you to give me, because I didn't hear the comments about Dave Lowry and his fieriness tonight. I'm coming into this the same as other people.
Sure.
I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, no worries. So Paul Stastny's first answer about how they got it turned around, Paul led with, "We got yelled at after the first," so it kind of woke everybody up. We've needed that for a while, so it was good to have. We probably thought they were going to come out a little easier, a little more relaxed. They had played last night. These guys have been playing good hockey. And so then the follow-up naturally was, how does a coach yelling play in the room? He said, in today's age, not many coaches yell. It might offend some kids, but sometimes it's needed. Sometimes it's needed. Sometimes you need a different voice, whether it's one of the guys inside the locker room or one of the coaches. Everyone kind of knew it was coming, and it was good. So once again, Paul Stastny bringing the truth serum and, appreciating the fact that the coach did raise his voice. And again, we know this. You can't raise your voice all the time, but when you do it in limited quantities, sometimes you get a reaction. And obviously the Jets needed to do a lot more on the ice, and they had a much better second period where they started with, this is what we talked about, Sean. They have not dictated the pace or the style of play very often in the last little bit. Today they were able to do that. Yes, they did it against a tired opponent, but they also did it after a period where they sleptwalked, and as you mentioned, were completely lucky to come away with a 1-1 tie because of that pass from Nikolai Ehlers that went in off the defender. So, yeah, interesting game. I mean, they responded well. But then again, too, they had to hang on for dear life at the very end. We'll get to the controversy in a minute, but let's do a little golf talk, and then we'll get a little Jets talk in.
Yeah, before we do that, just 2 things here quickly. One, I got to say, we've got a candidate for Burn of the Year here from T. He's always all over me. He says, yeah, you feel bad for Renny when he tells you he dislocated his shoulder. He doesn't tell you it came from patting himself on the back.
Oh, tremendous.
You need to back off, T. Will. I've got a show to do here. That was a proverbial punch in the face right there. What is your problem, my friend? And let's get into this too. It's a good thing we're talking about Mark Scheifele, because he's the kind of guy who may need insurance. He may need benefits, and if he does, we've got the guys who know all about this stuff. The Johnson Group. So proud to have them as sponsors for our show. You won't find two businesses with the same challenges, but you will find 30,000 businesses with Chambers Plan employee benefits, proudly administered by our friends at Johnston Group. Chambers Plan is Canada's #1 plan for employee benefits because it evolves with the way you work and live. The plan is run as a not-for-profit designed specifically to support small businesses, and its unique pooling strategy keeps rates stable so you won't have any surprises at your next renewal. Chambers Plan now comes with professional consulting on key financial, legal, and HR issues, and Teledoc telemedicine services are included with every health option. See how Chambers Plan can benefit your business by visiting chamberplan.ca. And man, oh man, I needed some Johnston Group goodies when I had that dislocated shoulder. I'm going to need some Johnston Group goodies to deal with this secondhand burn that T. Will handed my way. All right, let's switch gears here. Let's turn this around. We want to bring in our favorite guy, Derek Ingram, who's down at the Masters. And boy, oh boy, another phenomenal year at the Masters for you and Corey Connors. Give us an idea how you're feeling right now to not only pull off what you did with Corey last year, but to have the showing that you had again this year at DI.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, grateful to be at Augusta for probably my 5th time or maybe 6th time, and as a coach, never wasn't sure I'd ever get there, and it's a magical place, and like I said, pretty thankful to be there. And for Corey, another great week, kind of improving on his finish from last year, T6 best finish at a major. Obviously you don't go there trying to finish 6th, you go there trying to win, but so do other players. But still a great week, and it's especially nice to finish off. Kind of was an up and down roller coaster day, and to birdie the last 2 holes to go from maybe 11th or 12th or 13th, top 12 get invited back the following year. So an auto invite if you're in the top 12 to tie for 6, and that was big.
I know it's a very day-to-day DI, but I mean, this is rare air. 3 years in a row in the top 10. I mean, what about the historical significance too? And also too, the more comfortable you feel at that place, the closer you get to knowing that green jacket is within reach if you can put all 4 rounds together, isn't it?
Yeah, and for Corey, he loves the golf course. It's a perfect fit for him. He's got I think I mentioned to you guys in the past, he's got a photographic memory, so he knows the golf course probably better than anybody. He's played so many really good tournament rounds there, and just gaining confidence. He really believes he can win there, and I hate to toss a bunch of pressure on him or expectations, but when you play well, that's what happens. And he expects to do well there when he comes. We gear up for it sometimes 6-8 weeks in advance, thinking about the shots we're going to need. And it's always a great week, or certainly has been the last 2 years and 3 Masters. And, I expect him to win in the future.
Yeah, I wanted to go there because you talked about no one going there to finish 6th place. But I mean, to me, I see someone living and breathing that rare air in the stratosphere that he's in, and returning there year after year. For some people that would feel enough, but you're talking about expecting he's going to go there and win at some point. For him, this year's finish, where do you think he is mentally on landing where he landed? Is it enough, or is this just is it chewing at him?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. Yesterday he got off the golf course and he left a few shots out there. He definitely knew it. And, in the evening, quietly over dinner with his wife and I at the house, he said, I'll be better tomorrow. I know I've got more in me than that. I can play better out there, which is, something that he doesn't often say or do. But he knows, he knows he left probably 4 or 5 shots out there yesterday. And today was an up and down round. He was birdie, bogey early. And if he eliminates those bogeys, he's got a chance to win, especially if he was a little bit better yesterday. And so he knows he's right there. You have to be clean. You have to be really, really good. There's only one winner, and you have to really be on and have a little bit of luck. And yesterday on hole 15, I don't know if you guys saw, he had a birdie putt. I was probably 30 feet or 25 feet down the hill. And he told me he hit that putt exactly the way he wanted. And he got a gust of wind. And you could see his shirt actually fly up. A big gust of wind, and it caught the ball and blew it 30 feet past the hole and almost into the water. He 3-putted for bogey on that par 5. And, sometimes you just have to get a little bit lucky. The same thing happened on 18 as well. I got a big gust on a 18-footer for birdie. It missed the hole. Probably would have normally been a foot past the hole. With the gust, it took several slopes and was 70 feet away, and he three-putted for bogey. Well, those are things that, again, there's a little bit of luck involved, and on top of playing great, and it wasn't his week, but he does feel like he can win there, and he knows the course better than just about anybody, and he's got a teeny bit of regret, but not much. He knows it's a great finish, and he's going to move into the top 30 in the world, and I don't even think there's a lot of guys who finish back to back at Augusta in the top 10 3 years in a row. So there's some progress being made.
Yeah, obviously to Scotty Scheffler, incredible run, but quickly too, the Golf Channel caught you on the range with Tiger. Want to just maybe talk about what the scene was like, and then also follow that up with, you talked about the conditions. Today was almost mint, but you had a lot of wind and weather to deal with. And I mean, I wonder if, how being a Canadian might have helped Corey Connors deal with some of those conditions.
First on Tiger, the effect was incredible. Like, I've been to the last two Masters, and I've been to, I think, 2 or 3 before that. And this year, the hype and the buzz at the course was crazy. Like, I've never seen it like that at any tournament ever. In practice rounds, fairways lined with thousands and thousands of people for every shot Tiger hit. So that really talks about how he moves the needle and is almost the game. He's certainly a huge part of it. And he looked good. He warmed up beside Corey and I one day, and he looked great. And I never doubted for a second that Tiger would play this year or that he'll win again. Never in a second. I mean, he's got $1 billion at his disposal to help his body get back. Oh, and he's also one of the most motivated athletes in history. So Tiger will be back. I don't know if he'll win majors, but I think he'll win golf tournaments for sure, and he may win majors. On the conditions side, Kenny, the golf course, they had it on Monday and Sunday. Perfect, like really hard and fast. And it's really interesting when it plays firm and fast, and probably exactly the way they want it to. And then, of course, they probably had it even too fast on those days and too firm, knowing the weather was coming in on Tuesday. And it poured Tuesday. It poured Wednesday. Like, I can't believe how much water it took. And they just did a magnificent job to get, and they had, again, all the money at their disposal to get that happening. So that made it, a little bit easier and not as much fun, and maybe not exactly how they want Augusta National to play. But today was great. Got it firmer, got it faster, got it, running a little bit. With the cold weather yesterday, I don't really think that benefits anybody. It just benefits guys who are tough. Corey grew up in crappy weather, so did Mac and Mike Weir. But there's a lot of guys from Ireland, Scotland, or around the world who've gotten used to playing in lots of wind and, very cold. And it was super windy on Friday, super windy on Saturday, and super, very cold on Saturday as well. And so, Corey's living in Florida for a reason. He likes it there, and you can practice all day long. And so the weather I'm not sure it benefits anybody except somebody with a great attitude.
Before we do let you go, DI, one of the reasons we're lucky enough to have you on the show is because you're a diehard Jets fan, and so you tune in and check us out every once in a while. What's it been like being a Jets fan this year? Have they been giving you sleepless nights? Is it cutting into your enjoyment time this year?
Well, I mean, I still love the Jets, and I am always going to be a huge supporter because I know what it's like to have the Jets, to lose the Jets, and have them back. And I will always be a Jets supporter. I will always I have a quarter of a season ticket. If I can afford it, I'll always go to games and I'll support them because I want them in Winnipeg. We're a better city and province with them. So you'll never get me not being a Jets supporter. It's been kind of tough though, because we went from having that great team a few years ago. We were, one of the best 4 teams in the league, and to kind of watch us, maybe slowly going the wrong direction. It's been kind of tough, and I hope there's a retooling. You guys do a wonderful job. I always enjoy your show, but I hope there's a retooling and changing a little bit of the guard, and possibly in the leadership and maybe even in the coaching, which I never like to talk about because we all get fired as a coach sometime. I think that both the guys have done great jobs with coaching. So anyway, it's been a tough year, and we went from the biggest, strongest, meanest defense, probably the best defense core in the league, to now maybe one of the softest defense cores in the league, and maybe one of the softest teams in the league, which is look at Calgary, how they're protecting their superstars like a Goudreau. Don't even get me started on this, you guys. But anyway, I do love the helmet, Renny. That is a sick lit of the week for sure. That's well done. And
it may just replace the headband the way things are going here. Look at that. Jeepers creepers.
No, I actually meant the Hartford Whalers hat. That's it.
Oh
yeah, I like that.
You were talking about the one from the other day there.
No, I actually like the Hartford Whalers hat better than the helmet.
Yeah, I got a lot of love for it. Yeah.
So anyway,
finish up.
I just think that I'm excited for the summer, you guys, as you guys probably are as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, hey, it means a ton to us that this is the second straight year we've got to not only watch you and Corey do your thing down there, but like that you come on and talk with us about it afterwards means absolutely the world to us. Never mind the fact that we've both, taken some lessons with you, and you've really fixed Kenny's game. I know that you're a little tentative to take me on because you don't want me dragging things down. Like, I'm the kind of guy, I'm a net negative, right? I don't want to bring Golf Canada down by getting in your head with a game that can't possibly be fixed. But I will say this, if you're giving Kenny any more lessons, he's tearing it up on the golf course. Maybe give him a little bit of attitude lessons at the same time, Di, because he can't help but rub it in, this guy. You got to teach him how to be a good winner.
Kenny just pays a lot more than you, Renny. He's got and he says, "Hey, listen, I'll keep paying, but just don't help Sean out." Is that what he says to me? So I'm like, "No, I'm just joking."
I'm not one bit surprised, Di. Not one bit.
No.
We know Sean's problems are between his ears on the golf course. Di can help you all you want with the technical side. You need a little more sunny demeanor on the course, Reynolds. That's all. This year it's going to happen. This year it's going to happen for you. Thanks, Di. That was awesome.
Yeah, hey, my pleasure, guys.
Travel smoothly, man. Talk to you soon.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Cheers.
You bet. See you later, bud. That was awesome. I'm blown away every time we do that, right? Like, we're going right down to the Masters to one of the best golfers in the world as coach. That's just
great stuff.
Where do we want to go? Should we pick up where we were talking about the kind of the truth serum and I mean,
sure.
Okay, so I love.
Oh, sorry, and then the other part too, Sean. I should the part that you missed about Dave actually too. So here was Dave's response to his message. I didn't like our first period. I didn't like our puck management. I didn't like the pace we were playing with. I didn't like the urgency in our game. But, to their credit, we had an answer in the second period. We came out and did things in the second what we wanted to do at the start of the game. So, and then he went into some of the things that led to the issues, like the poor puck management and sort of those things. So I thought the truth serum was flowing nicely today.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I've said that time and time again. And it's one of the reasons why, maybe we don't hear about this if it's not Paul Stastny having that conversation up there. But I say it time and time again. Paul Stastny is the kind of guy who brings and he shines a light on the boogeyman. This is our problems. I'm not afraid to talk about it because I have confidence that we can fix this. I get the whole idea. And it's funny, I had a really interesting conversation with my general manager, Daner, of our team, the Poor Bakers, at the Canlan. We lost in the final yesterday. Heartbreaker, Ken. Absolute heartbreaker. But we had a really interesting conversation after it all about his kind of thoughts on the role of the media. And he thought, and I'm sure a lot of people think this way. A lot of people in the chat room, I think this way, that if you're a real big fan of a team, sometimes you don't want the media prying for answers. You don't think that the team owes you anything. Or a lot of people think, even as fans, that the teams don't owe the fans anything. I don't think it's necessarily a thing. Like, I'm not trying to be nosy. I'm not trying to get in. I'm not trying to learn anything I don't deserve to know. Or I guess that's not the right word, because maybe I don't deserve to know anything. But what I want to have a conversation with someone who can tell me about what's going on, and if there's players out there who can talk about the issues that they're having openly with their fans. I realize that I haven't been doing this. I haven't been playing my game to this degree this year. And I'm okay with saying that because I know that it's an issue that I feel like I'm going to get by. I don't need to, when I ask questions, Kenny, quite often I coach it, I'll say, I'm not trying to pry. So I ask this question, and I ask you to tell me whatever you're comfortable telling me. If that's nothing, then the question is nothing. If it's everything, then that's fine. So I think that I try to kind of respect boundaries when I ask those questions, but I do ask very pointed questions. But one of the reasons I do is because there's so often that you deal with professional athletes and you ask them pointed questions and they're not afraid to address it. Stastny is that guy. I love that he talked about that. And I love that tonight Dave Lowry came in and talked about what we were all seeing. They needed to be better in the first period against a team like that. You don't go what the Jets are trying to do. You don't go 10-0 down the stretch by coming out and playing a team that played last night and is better than you and works harder than you in the first period. That's how it goes. We need to talk about those things. I'm glad that those things were talked about.
Sure, I agree. Let's go to the infamous high stick or not high stick. I have some thoughts, but I want you to go first.
Okay, so I think it was a high stick. But I also think that as soon as that goal was scored and they called it a goal, when I saw the replays, I thought that it was going to stand. And it was interesting because during the broadcast, both Kevin Sawyer and Dennis thought that, okay, that's coming back, right? It sounded to them that it was almost as definitive as, those offsides. But I think that the offside and gauging an offside is a totally different ball game than gauging a high stick. Because if it's anywhere close, and I don't know specifically what the rule is, if you contact the puck and it's like the bottom of the puck is right at the very top of the bar, like is that the bar right there? Is it the top of the bar? Is it the bottom of the bar? I don't know the rules enough. All I know is I saw that and I thought, I don't think, even though I'm looking at it, I'm saying, yep, that's a high stick. They need 1,000% without a doubt proof that is a high stick. And I didn't think I saw that there. My brother-in-law texted me and said, doesn't the fact that it barely clears the bar and is going downward tell you that the contact was made above the bar? And I agree with him. I think he's right. I think he nailed it. I think it was a high stick. But at the same time, I don't think that there was enough evidence to overturn it. So I'm not surprised with what happened.
Yeah, it's interesting. And here's my counter. I actually think the swing definitely started above the bar, but I think that he actually waited until it got to the bar. I'm not sure it was below the bar, but that's where here's the other part, Sean. Everyone who's showing the pictures and the angles, you know this from being on the broadcast. Those broadcasts are shooting down. Yeah. So it creates the optical illusion that it's obvious. But it's not obvious. At ice level, what you need is a camera where the goal judge is sitting at the crossbar, basically. So to me, I think it was too close to call, and I agree with you. If it's waved off initially, I don't think it counts. I don't think it was obviously one thing or the other. I think it was so close that you couldn't overturn it because it was not indisputable, because at least I didn't see any angle that was indisputable. Right? I mean, so that's how I see it. I mean, I think the best view would have been, we always see the net cam, but you basically needed a cam at net level that was basically in the boards in order to get the accurate. And again, where's the line? And can you make a straight line? I mean, when it's on the side of the net, it was really tough. So anyways, I don't feel it was as definitive as some people do, but I think you could make a case that he may have waited long enough. Though again, I wouldn't say you could take it to the bank that it was obviously should have counted. But what I do think is that it was too close to call, just like you. So I think on this one we agree. But I think that Tkachuk did a good job to wait. Did he wait long enough? I mean, that's tough to say. Sorry, I'm not throwing you under the bus. Are you sending another link out? We have another person in that one.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Throwing me under the bus. I've dislocated my shoulder. I'm getting rolled over by the bus. I am taking an absolute battering here tonight.
I've seen you can. Here's the good news: you can take it, right?
Yeah.
You can give it, but
sure.
The best news is that you can take it. So
another quick one. These shoulders until they dislocate again. How about we try that? Yeah,
they're very strong. They're very strong. Quick thing about Pierre-Luc Dubois before we get Jeff Hamilton in here. Jeff was talking this morning to Dave Lowry about Dubois. So here's a quick thing. I mean, we understand folks were up in arms. It had been 8 games without a goal. Nice job by Dubois to get to the net and score a goal there tonight. I don't think it was their line's best game, to be quite frank. There were some shifts where they were solid, but I didn't think they had the same kind of sync going. But I mean, I think, even though Pierre-Luc Dubois had said it wasn't weighing on him, I think getting that 100th goal out of the way is important for him. Now he's up to 26, now one off his career high that he set in his second season. And sorry, quick thing before I fully go to the buffet on Dubois. Sean, Paul Stastny has not had a 20-goal season since 2013-14 when he was with the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, the fact that he's on the verge of 20 is absolutely exceptional, because this has always been a pass first kind of player. So just a quick side detour there. But I think that Dubois was again involved. Here's my argument that I was making the other day. Yes, three assists in 8 games probably wasn't good enough for the time of year that they needed from him, but he was still engaged, drew another penalty. That's now 48 on the season, might have been a 49th on that other call. So he's still been involved in the game, even though he is not operating at peak efficiency right now. What Dave Lowry said this morning is important. The Jets have far too many guys that you need to basically get the paddles on to get them going. So you'd rather have to rein in somebody like Pierre-Luc Dubois. Again, is Pierre-Luc Dubois going to have 100 penalty minutes every year? I'm not sure, but I loved his quote from this morning as well to Jeff. My dad told me pretty early on that I'm not going to win the Lady Bing. So if you're not going to win the Lady Bing, then mix it up. I love it. You already got a guy in your line that can win the Lady Bing. Okay? Kyle Connor can take care of the Lady Bing. Pierre-Luc Dubois can win the I want to get involved and get under your skin and tick you off award. He doesn't care about the Lady Bing.
Yeah. Okay. It's time to get into this. I've been begging Jeff Hamilton to come on this show. So I wonder if maybe it's going to be a heated exchange, because I've got this feeling that maybe behind the scenes he's been angry with me because he just won't come on. But I'm glad that we finally roped him into bringing him in here, because man, oh man, I've missed his theme music. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to bring down the hammer. Bring down the hammer! To bomb dodging shot grenades. Move over, get someone else who's at the buffet. I'm gonna make Renny shout and the show will overturn. Bring down the hammer. I'm sweating just from listening to that. Like that
should be sweating.
You know what, Dan? I've
almost was like I'm checking my phone, being like, "Do you really want me on, Sean? You've been asking me for weeks." Then you guys are checking your phones, but the theme song, just you could see my heart rate just melt back down as I sit in my Ottawa hotel room. But
yeah, I'll tell you something. I've got one regret about that theme song, and it's that I didn't still have the long hair that I had last year when that song came on, because I would rip the Whalers hat off and I would be shaking it around. It would be good stuff. Let's get into it here, Hammy. Give us your thoughts on the game here tonight. Was this where the Jets should be? Are you okay with this? You can pass out grades. I'm giving you an empty slate. Do whatever you want with this. But what did you see in that game tonight?
Oh, I saw a team that, once again says one thing and does another. Like, I mean, we're at game 73 tonight?
73, yeah.
73 tonight, and it's the same shit. It's the same, hey, we have belief, we're going to try. Like, it's annoying. Like, those kind of things are just ridiculous. And then you see the first period that you saw tonight. And perfect setup. I finally tweet in the game. I'm just like, 4 shots on net against a team that played last night against a goalie. I think Sogard's going to be a good goalie, but he's still a goalie who only has 2 starts. And they're not directing anything. There's just no, there's no fire. There's no heart. There's no intensity. There's nothing. And then they score a goal right after my tweet to tie it up. But you know what? But at the end of the day, I mean, where is the bar, right? The bar is so low for this team that it's celebrated to lose in overtime to the Colorado Avalanche. That is where this team is at. I couldn't I'm listening to your guys' podcast. You guys know I'm a massive fan of what you guys do every game. That's why I come on here, because you guys give great analysis. But I almost felt like last game was an oversell. You know what I mean? Yeah, they played great against the Avalanche. You need to talk about something, but they snapped a 4 or 5 game skid tonight.
Four straight losses.
Against a team that, if it wasn't for Connor Hellebuck, surprise, this team is losing to the Senators tonight. It should have been 3 or 4-0 in the first period, at least 2-0. They score a goal because, and I don't even know if Nick Ehlers was trying to pass there. That was that wasn't going to be, if that got through, that was going to be in the corner.
Well, that's the point. The difference in this game, never mind the fact that they pulled it out. The difference in this game is a lucky bounce, right? That's never mind a lucky bounce. I think not only do they score that goal, which is about as lucky a bounce as you can get, but from that point on, the Senators, it's right at the end of the period. They get on their heels a little bit. All of a sudden, they take a penalty, which I think is a direct result of that. You get shocked a little bit. Then you go into the second period, and the Jets capitalize on the penalty. And now all of a sudden, that lucky bounce is turned into kind of the edge that the Jets rode for the rest of the game. So I think you make a good point in that, because we talked about it. I still think Ottawa was the better of the two teams tonight. I think the Jets got the hockey gods, gave them a break here tonight. This isn't what you see from a team who is starting out on this last 10-game stretch down to the end of the season here and saying we need to win every single game down the stretch to make the playoffs. Well, they win this one tonight, but it's not exactly the game that you think they're going to carry forward and run the table for the rest of these games, is it not?
Well, this is the thing, Sean. Much like we said the other day, this is who the Jets are. They give you the one flash against Colorado, but to Jeff's point, the game against Colorado is against their backup goalie and without 2 of their best 4 forwards, Landeskog and Nazem Kadri.
Energy for a long playoff run. Anyone that knows at this point in time, Colorado has created a situation for themselves to not really give a shit down the stretch. I'm sorry now. I got to be careful here, but the reality is that there's teams that was. Sogard had 21 saves tonight. 21, an .840 save percentage. You know what I mean? It's and you look at the second period, because I thought that Pierre-Luc Dubois' goal, which was a great goal. Great
good movement,
vision by Kyle Connor to see a wide open. You saw that one developing from a mile away. But earlier, before that goal, Ottawa almost scored again, shorthanded. They're the one with the big play to start off the second period. And we know this is a game of inches, and credit where credit, is deserved, I guess. They managed to squeak this one out. But it's just Ottawa played last night in New York. You know what I mean? To me, it's painful. And it seems like the only one who gives a care, or one of the few guys that gives a care, is Paul Stastny, the elder statesman. The guy who, and great chemistry between him and Ehlers. That's another one that I think is budding there. But it's just, I don't know. It's just frustrating to go into these arenas and ask these. This is a painful process. Let's just put it out there, right? The Jets aren't making the playoffs. You go in there, there's a hope, there's a whatever, and these guys will look at you and say, we're trying to push for a playoff spot. There's a chance. There's still a chance. Dave Lowry's doing the same thing, and then tonight, it's a victory, and it can apply to the fact that that Lowry's comments before about we're not going to critique a loss. That was when they actually had a sniff, and and this whole and the other thing, the Colorado game, Josh Morrissey, who obviously is having a fantastic season, all things considered. After the loss to Colorado, which was the team's 4th in a row, we sat down and talked with each other about what team we wanted to be down the stretch here. Mm-hmm. How embarrassing is that? You know what I mean? It tells me a team who's so sensitive and fragile that they need to sit down and now have conversations about pride, and at the same time think that they actually have a sniff at this. It's bananas.
Okay, I take umbrage with that, because it's never too late. It's too late for them to make the playoffs, and we've said that this entire time here. But it's never too late to start working on your culture, and I honestly do think this is the issue.
Sorry, that comment's not my issue. I think you have to have that conversation.
Well, you said it's embarrassing to be working on that. And you're right, it is, but it doesn't mean you don't do it.
It's embarrassing when you get what we saw tonight, because clearly you're not clearly you had this one conversation that inspired you to play well against the Colorado Avalanche, and then you turn around a few days later and you lay an egg, you win, but Ottawa's bad. You know what I mean? That to me doesn't show a team that actually is living up to what they're saying. It's not.
And here's the tricky part about that. And you bring that up, and you bring up a really good point. So last game they're losing, and they have this rally in the second intermission, and it's what kind of team do we want to be? So then they go out and they do some great stuff and put on a really good show for their fans, and they lose in overtime to the best team in the league, right? So to your point, you have this conversation, you have this rallying cry, and then that period you rock it, and then you pull off, you get a point that you probably weren't going to get. And then the next period you play, you fall asleep again, and you need another butt-kicking, rallying cry, someone yelling in the intermission for you to get going again. It's like you can only pull the string on the chainsaw so many times before it's just not going to run anymore. And like that is it? How big of a problem? This I guess is why I'm saying, and I'll throw this to you, Kenny, but this is why I'm saying it's never too late to work on your culture, because right now, if this is a team that needs to get berated by their coach tonight to get there, and needs to be questioned by their coach, what do you guys want to be? Do you want to give up, or do you want to actually fight down the stretch here for them to get into games? How problematic is it that they basically, or how related is it to team culture that they need these moments with their coach to just get up for the games and play how they should be playing?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly interesting. Obviously, we know that this year has been a challenge for them on a number of levels. And I just think, too, I think one of the biggest mistakes the Jets made during the stretch drive was bringing up the word urgency. Honestly, they have not shown it. It's one thing to say it, but you need to show it before you're down in games. So, again, it's a fun word to toss around, but I just don't see the Jets. I mean, I understand why Dave Lowry uses the terminology, because he's basically begging his players to show urgency and desperation. But it's been so rare that it's hard to keep saying it at the podium when you see that the players are not responding to it. I guess that would be the way that I sort of interpret what's happening right now, because, again, it's one thing to say you have belief, and that's great, but then play like you have belief. This team doesn't play like it has belief, and that's part of the reason why they have struggled the way that they have. And they struggle to defend. I mean, look at the goals that were scored again, outside of the high stick or not high stick.
Were allowed. They're all in the slot.
Look at the game. Even when the extra attacker's on him, you're in the building. I mean, that game, not even the Jets could have lost the game in regulation. Never mind sent it to overtime with what they were giving up after the goalie pull. It was a barrage for Connor Hellebuck.
Tough night for Neil Piank too, eh?
Oh man, tough seat. Ever since December, I've said this before again. Since December 5th, since the concussion, he has not been the same player.
He's not as physically engaged, and that's probably a reason. But no, before we go to there, culture. Work on the culture. You know what works on the culture? Winning games. And tonight, even though they won the game, it didn't help in any way, because I don't think anyone's convinced that that they did anything special. I feel like they felt lucky in this one. The culture is damaged here. I don't know, and we talk a lot about maybe there's a rift between players, leadership, all this stuff. Doesn't even matter. I mean, I don't think it's any of that. I just don't think that these guys, can get motivated. Can I don't even know. I'm a little lost for words that at game 73, and I mean, credit to you guys for doing 73 post-game shows, because it's been much of the same. And I mean, and as much as we can point to coaching, and I'm sure Dave Lowry isn't coming back, I just, his team's not going to give him that push that he needs down the stretch to even be, in my opinion, to be considered. But coaching aside, I mean, this team just does not show enough give a shit. This team doesn't show enough heart. This team just doesn't have that, what you need out of, what you need out of a consistently winning team. And I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is, right? Because there's a lot of good players on this team. There's a lot of talent on this team. There's a lot of good personalities on this team. There are some glue guys on this team. But whatever it is, it's just like once the puck drops, it's just like, let's just let them take it to us. And that's kind of been the Jets' MO all season long, reactionary things.
Well,
it's just crazy.
I think Lynn Reimer's got a great point here. She says, isn't having the coach yell to get you up for a game / period GTHL level stuff. These are supposed to be professionals. I mean, I think this is the one thing that drives people nuts in what we're talking about here and makes people question the culture with this team is the idea that this is supposed to be a group that figured this kind of stuff out in 2018. This is supposed to be a team that is established and their most important guys have kind of been there and done that. And things like, just showing up for the first period against a team that, like you said, Hammy, was in New York last night and getting pumped by that team in the first period. Like, these things are happening time and time and time again, and these things should not happen. And the one thing that I think is interesting down the stretch here is I think at some point, Kevin Cheveldayoff decided, and I think he decided before the trade deadline, that he was going to try and replicate, and is it 2016, Kenny, that the year that they're out of the playoffs, there's really nothing to play for. They could have tanked and got worse, and instead they made this really, really good push towards the end of the season. And that's the year the lottery balls fall in their direction and they get Patrick Laine. And Kevin Cheveldayoff has been vocal about saying he thinks the hockey gods smiled down on them because they did things the right way. I think that this year, that's what his plan was that, yeah, they were going to miss the playoffs, but they were going to correct and they were going to rebalance and they were going to make this really strong push towards the end of the season. And then they'd be able to sell themselves internally that, yes, we did things the right way. There was no payoff, but the payoff was that we, the good times that we had, or whatever, to be cheesy, but like the payoff is that they showed that even when things didn't matter and there was nothing to gain from it, that they were going to push and they were going to do the right things. And that was the payoff. But why have they not been able to replicate that? I think that's what they've been trying to do, but they haven't come close. Why have they not been able to? The muscle memory should be there. This should be something that they've done before, and they should be able to push it again. Why can't they do it this year?
Yeah, Jets are all over the road. They've lost their GPS is not working, and the map is unfurled, but you left it in the recycling bin basically. I think that the Jets struggle to know where they're going. To be honest, I can appreciate the reasoning behind what Kevin Cheveldayoff did, but I think that in a year where they were, I understand why they tried to make the playoffs, but I think that it was an opportunity missed. We're praising Paul Stastny for the year that he's having. And if the Jets are going to keep Paul Stastny, fine. By all means, I understand why they kept him. But if they were trying to turn it over and get themselves ready to compete next year and the year after, I think they should have gone all in. And Sean, I said this on our hit on deadline day. I thought they were going to trade both Kopp and Stastny, not as a waving of the white flag, but to start to turn over the culture and try to find that identity, and then turn it over to some of the. Look at how Dylan Sandberg's playing. I don't want to go on a tangent here, but the Jets need to make room on the back end for some of these young players. I'm not saying turn it over to all rookies, but the fact that they didn't really pick a lane at the deadline, I think that left probably some of the lead. I think some of the leaders would have been happy by that, but I think some of them otherwise would have been saying, well, what are we doing? Are we trying to make it? Are we trying to squeak in for 8th? Are we rebuilding on the fly? I'm not sure. I think that, but again, I also think that the players are being let off the hook here too. There's a lot of players that didn't live up to their potential this year. Jeff, you mentioned Neil Piank. We've talked about him a lot this year. Neil Piank's had a tough year since December 5th. It has been a struggle for him. It doesn't matter who his partner has been. It doesn't matter if it's been Brendan Dillon, Nate Schmidt, Ville Heinola. There have been flashes, but there have not been enough quality play. The Jets paid Neil Piank on a long-term deal because he was their best defenseman the last 2 seasons. This year, Josh Morrissey is head and shoulders above as the number 1 defenseman, and Piank has not been good enough. I'm not blaming Neil Piank, but he's one of the many players who have not lived up to their potential. And that's been a problem. And now how they find the solutions will have a massive impact on A, the culture, and B, the identity that this team needs moving forward. Because right now they're still in the middle. Sean, you've said it before. They're a skilled team that's trying to play hard defensively, except they're not committed to being good enough defensively. So guess what? It hasn't worked. You know why? Because they're not committed enough. I mean, Jeff, quickly, we'll stay on this topic, but what did you think? I mean, Dave Lowry saying out loud, mentioning Ottawa, who is in this free and easy space, but willing to have the defenseman pinch because they know a third forward is going to be high. Don't you think that was a shot at the Jets? If Ottawa's committed to it and they're not a playoff team, how come the Jets with all their skill can't be committed? Because all that takes is work and effort.
I think there was a ton of hidden messages in the postgame tonight, and some of them weren't all that much hidden. You know,
Right.
I think, just to go back to your comment about the trade deadline with Stastny, I think if you would have traded Paul Stastny, you would have not got the return that you well, I guess any return you can make the argument would have been better than potentially losing him, down the stretch here. But I think it would have been even bigger to the culture if Paul Stastny was gone, because I think it would have turned into an absolute disaster without Paul Stastny. I think Paul Stastny is the middleman between the Blake Wheelers and the Mark Scheifele's and the older guys, the hierarchy guys with the younger guys.
He's the bridge.
Let's face it here. This team is run on a hierarchy. Boston Bruins aren't running a hierarchy. I mean, there's players who are obviously in the first line, but I always go back to the Zdeno Chara comment from years ago when they asked him, why do the Boston Bruins, why are they consistently good? Why is it that they've created a culture that is a winning culture, and why do they compete for the Stanley Cup year in and year out? They don't go through rebuilds. And it was because Zdeno Chara, unprovoked, said that when guys come into the locker room, new guys come into the locker room, they're not rookies. They're not guys who need to shut up and do their job, keep their mouth closed or whatever. They're part of a team. Because if you come into a locker room, if to win a championship and just to be a consistently good team, everybody needs to feel a part of it. Every single person. I am not convinced one bit that is even close to the culture in the Winnipeg Jets locker room. I think and I'm not going to, throw shade on 26 or, say that that Scheifele needs to be better defensively. Those are both kind of, I think you need to create a new leadership group here, because not once in this, when I asked Blake Wheeler what the leadership group needs to be doing to get this back on track, because we know better coaching could help. We know that better system, better structure, commitment to this, whatever it is, can improve this team, but so can the players. So can the leadership group has to take an ownership of that. And Blake Wheeler came out and said it spoke volumes that he was even out there the next day after a loss. And and didn't even answer the question. So to me, things are broken here. This isn't going to get better. This isn't going to get better unless things change. There's absolutely no accountability. Okay, guys don't this isn't one of those things where guys are saying things to the media and then going back in the locker room and looking in the mirror. These are guys that don't think they're doing anything wrong and make up excuses every time we ask them about what's happening. Whether it's crazy schedules, COVID, crazy circumstances we keep hearing from Blake Wheeler, craziest of his career. Well, every team deals with that. And my question would be is this team have a strong enough culture, have strong enough confidence in one another, have a drive that they can get through those? And I think the answer is very clear that they do not. They can't get through things like tough schedules. They can't get through things like, and I know they've been thrown a wrench in certain situations, but this is a team that came into this year as contenders for the Stanley Cup and will end the season on the bottom half of teams in the National Hockey League. And so, it's a bit of a rant here, but at the same time, it's just, it would have been at one point in the season, you're like, okay, yeah, maybe it's a bit tough, but they'll turn it around. Then game 40, then game 50, then game 60, and now game 73, and things have just seemed to have gotten worse. And so something needs to give.
It's interesting because I will say this, your comments make me think this, Jeff. You would have thought at some point in a season like this, you would have heard a leader on a sports team. Like if this is the Chicago Blackhawks, if this is the Tampa Bay Lightning, I don't know. I'm trying to think of another team. Probably the Carolina Hurricanes would be a good example. You feel like, and when I talk about the Chicago Blackhawks, I talk about the Chicago Blackhawks when they were winning. You feel like at some point, leaders on that team would have stepped up in front of the microphone and tried to take opportunities to pile it on them, right? This is on me. This is my, if you're looking for someone to blame for where we are right now, you could point the finger squarely on me, but you leave those guys alone in there, okay? It's my job to do this, to get this team prepared, to get ready. We're the guys who are supposed to lead the charge. If that's not happening and you need to write a story about someone, write the story about me, and let's start off and ask me the questions right now, and let's go at it. That clearly didn't happen here at any point, and has not ever happened at any point with this group. And I think it's important what you're saying, because that's that thing is that you do wonder when it's never talked about until Paul Stastny comes out and says something, why there's never a conversation of the players saying the things that are going wrong or that they may be doing wrong. It just seems odd to me, because what we've come to know from NHL type leaders is that they pile the issues on them. Sidney Crosby is another guy who would do this. They pile the problems on themselves to shield everybody else. I don't think, and Ken, tell me if I'm wrong, can we think of a time in Winnipeg where we've seen leaders step in front of the bus to try and shield the rest of their team, other than Paul Maurice, who used to do that consistently for his team over and over again?
I don't know. I would say that Brian Little was pretty good at not necessarily laying blame at himself, but he was a guy who, and I would also, not a counter, but to Jeff's point, I think that second tier of leadership, and I don't mean second tier in terms of where they rank, but in terms of creating a second tier of leaders, whether that's Pierre-Luc Dubois or Kyle Connor, who I think has been, yes, I like the Jets have guys who have not been shy about pointing inwardly.
Brendan Dillon, Nate Schmidt.
Yeah,
they're
for
all,
sure.
I mean,
So,
yeah.
And I don't think that you necessarily have to wear a letter to be a leader, is sort of my point. I mean, to reinforce that, I think, but to the other side of the coin, I think that, there were times where I don't think the Jets did a good job by having letters on Dustin Byfuglien or Toby Enstrom, two guys that didn't speak. I think that was a major mistake. I mean, those guys are the kind of guy. Dustin Byfuglien we know is a leader, but if you don't have someone who's comfortable speaking and doing the things that you're suggesting, Sean, don't give them letters. So, again, so that's something when it comes to culture and things like that. I mean, that's a long time issue, I guess, if you will. But I think words are important, but I think that my bigger issue with the Jets this year is their actions. It's got nothing to do with who's at the podium speaking truth bombs, which we in the media appreciate. I think that the fact that the Jets are still not sure who's going to show up at Game 73, that's the biggest problem that I have with this group. And I agree with Jeff. A lot of that is people can say what they want about coaching and systems and structure. If you're not ready to roll, that to me, you're letting the players off the hook. If you think it's only coaching that has led the Jets to be a mediocre hockey team, that simply is not accurate.
Guys, is there anywhere you want to go before we shut this down? Any thoughts, Hammy, from being in the building tonight?
Thought with me going on, we go overtime, but I guess we are.
Yeah, buddy, we are overtime. We are overtime, and I still got to write a column here.
Yeah.
How about quick thought? I mean, you were in the building. I mean, how about quick one on Dylan Samberg? Again, I thought he was excellent again tonight. Again, just little subtle things. He does so many things that are smart. Composure, puck movement, physicality. So in a season where the Jets haven't always stood up for one another, Dylan Samberg took a number 45 of Parker Kelly, and when he had a chance to run him into the end boards, he grabbed him and slammed his head into the glass. So to me, that's a little thing, but it's an important thing, especially if you're a new guy trying to integrate yourself into a lineup. So again, I'm more impressed by what he does with the puck and with his feet and with his body and how he defends. But to me, I like the fact that he also wasn't afraid to go headhunting on Parker Kelly without doing it in a dirty way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I certainly liked his game. I mean, when you're limited to 5-on-5 minutes and you don't have a role on special teams, you're gonna end up with the ice time that he ended up with. He was again at 12 something for a second straight game. So,
And he will kill penalties going forward. I mean, this is a guy that's his skill set. That's his skill set.
His last two,
Yeah.
what we've seen from him in return. So yeah, he's been good, but like what would he look like with more responsibility? And I'm not countering here, but I'm just saying in general, I like what I see out of him. I see a guy who plays a consistent game. He knows what he brings to the table. He exploits it. There's some toughness with him, obviously, and I think he cares, and I think there's a comfort level. He's only played 7-8 games now, I think in total. What's he got, like 7-8 games?
Yeah.
I think he's at a situation where he's going to get more and more comfortable, literally by every single game he plays. And so, I certainly I think at this point in time, you need to bring those guys up, see what you have in it. I know you guys talked about that, beforehand or whatever. One thing, you guys talked about Wheeler and his injury. You guys talked about Scheifele and him getting hurt and all that stuff. I think Scheifele's gone for the season.
Yeah, we
thought the same thing.
I mean, for a guy who's broken his collarbone 3 times playing hockey, that looked like a guy who took force in the shoulder and wouldn't be surprised if that was the situation. But I mean, overall, I think, I liked his game tonight. Again, the fact that he didn't stick out, I think, is his kind of his praise. I mean, he sticks out for a little, as you mentioned, Kenny. I mean, those are big instinctual things. But I think the fact that he doesn't stick out in games like that, when you see guys like Neil Piank kind of having a couple of different errors, again, tough night for him, tough season for him. I do think you're he's going to rebound and be better. But at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know, guys. This is going to be a long, long final 9 games. I'm interested to see what happens tomorrow. Obviously they get back on the ice. They're going to be missing, Blake and Mark. Interesting situation. Those guys are out. Maybe some, opportunities for others. But, at this point, man, I mean, I think just a good effort is what I think what fans should be asking for. And I just, I'm kind of just at a loss for words in a lot of it. And then who knows? The other thing, too, is Carey Price potentially playing tomorrow?
Yeah. Sorry, I checked with Engels. He said he won't know until the morning.
Okay.
It's certainly a possibility, but Caden Primo was also called up today, so I don't know if it says insurance or if that was your indicator that maybe he won't be ready, but he definitely has been making progress. So it's a possibility, but we won't know until the morning skate, it sounds like.
Hammy, I like where you kind of ended that on what, these last 10 games and what we should be looking for. And I think that's why you're fired up tonight. I think a lot of people are fired up because, again, and I'll end where I started. I think the Jets were the second best team on the ice tonight, but they are more opportunistic and they've got, better guys, more capable of putting the puck in the net. But that is not it. Like, what happened tonight is not what you're hoping to see as a Jets fan. You're not hoping to have them walk in and put up a first period that their coach needs to chew them out for. This is not the blueprint. If the idea is down the stretch, the Jets are trying to give it. I mean, the one thing about this that I think will make for really good conversations down the stretch that we can have, and Hammy, you're going to join us on the show tomorrow as well?
I think that'd be a good opportunity. Yeah, sure.
That's good. So, but I mean, down the stretch, if we keep having these games where the Jets go and play like a team that's coming off a back-to-back and get pumped and outworked by them in the first period, like, it's a good time to start talking about the message that they are sending, not only about their coach, but to their GM down the stretch, like how little they care and what is going to have to happen with this team in the offseason, because I'm still a big believer, and I say this, guys, and I'll go on record saying it again, I still think Kevin Cheveldayoff wants to win, and he wants to win with this group specifically. So what I'm expecting to see in the offseason is not wholesale changes. I know Kenny is definitely trending. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think what Kenny is expecting in the offseason is more dramatic than what I'm expecting in the offseason. I still think that Cheveldayoff wants to mostly stay with what he has here and try and go forward with that. But if they keep doing this down the stretch for these last 10 games, we know they're not going to make the playoffs. But if we go down the stretch where the wins that they keep getting are wins that, they pulled out their recipe for success against teams like Ottawa, but it's not a recipe for success to making the playoffs. If they keep doing this down the stretch, I don't know how you don't look at that if you're Kevin Cheveldayoff and think, I don't know that you can just blame this specifically on coaches or systems or whatever, and that we have the right recipe here and we're the Calgary Flames from last year and we just need a new coach to turn things around and head in the right direction. It's harder and harder to look at that team and suggest they deserve an opportunity to stick together next year based on, a first period like we saw here tonight, or the fact that this team needs intervention almost every intermission now, it seems, to have the troops rally just to get them to go out there and give an honest effort. Any last thoughts before we go, guys?
Yeah, if they stay status quo next season, I don't think Chevy should be here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything, Ken, before we go?
Nope. Let's get after it tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, Hammy. Fun
Thanks
show.
for joining us, Hammy.
Thanks also
guys.
to Derek Ingram for joining us from
was awesome.
Augusta after a great showing
Yeah, that
from
was
Corey
cool to have
Connors.
him on there, guys. That's awesome.
And before we do go, I just wanted to give everyone the opportunity, if you were interested in any Kenny and Renny merch, we're going to go to www.shopsportsnet.store. I can tell you this right now, the plans that are in the works, we've been really happy with everything that everyone has bought from us, all the shirts, all the mugs, all the water bottles, that kind of stuff. There's plans to bring in more. Like I think we can confidently say, Ken, there's going to be hats. But Ken and I take a little chunk of the profits, and we wanted to kind of announce we wanted to do the right thing by everyone out there. And so we're taking half of our profits, and the plan is to give that to the Winnipeg Humane Society. When we can get down to the time when we're making that donation, we can give you an idea of how much money that's going to be. But we just wanted to say we appreciate the local element that we have here. We have local sponsors. We have local people tuning in. It was really important for us to try and keep all of this local. And I was thinking, pretty safe way. I know everyone's got their charities and choices, but who doesn't love animals? And if you don't, what kind of monsters are you? And why are you listening to the Kenny and Renny show if you would have a problem with us donating money to the Winnipeg Humane Society? So thank you so much for what you've done. Not only for us, it was about getting our Kenny and Renny swag out there, hoping to see some Kenny and Renny fans in the streets. But the idea that we're able to take that and make a contribution here locally, it makes us feel really good. And I hope it makes you all feel really good. Thank you so much for that. Thanks for your support. Ken, looks like you're itching to say one last thing.
All good. See you Monday night after the game.
All right. See you Monday after the games. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We will talk to you tomorrow. See you, Hammy.